This episode of the 7th Valkyrie podcast was brought to you by me, Valentine Descartes, Iron Wolf of Edera. To get the full experience, including all available seasons, extra artwork, bonus features, and behind-the-scenes content, you can download the 7th Valkyrie app at the link in the description. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 7th Valkyrie podcast. I'm your host, Colin Sharp. Thank you for the introduction, Val. And I have another topic. We're still... It's been an interesting checkpoint in my life. I've kind of come back to the 7th Valkyrie, and I just met digitally after my last episode the second person who I've ever met directly through this series, through the 7th Valkyrie. Shout out to Keith from Reddit. I assume your name was Keith. Your username had it in there, but could be anything. Could be David. Did I just say Keith David? Who is that? Anyway, it was him, as well as another person who reached out to me over email over the holiday, a guy named Steven, who first made me realize, like, oh shit, I'm starting to meet people who don't know me, and who I've met purely through this work, and it's kind of cool. It's fascinating. I freaked out and sent like messages to all my friends. I was like, oh my god! Like the first person I've ever met who like wasn't just like my friend who I said, hey, listen to it. Like actually went ahead and listened to the series and liked it. Keith, I first of all, I just gotta say, and again, assuming your name is Keith, like, that random Reddit comment that you decided to post, like, has changed my entire life. Like, no joke. And I mean, it might have been it was yours. It could have been someone else's, but it was yours. And so, who knows? With how big I'd like this series to get, that'll be a pretty important moment. I don't know. I've got big dreams. I got big goals, and it's funny to kind of look back and feel like, wow, like, is this a historic moment for me? Anyway, I'm obviously over the moon, and it got me thinking about a lot of things. Like, oh shit! Like I was like, oh man, I gotta kind of like, I was like, people are actually like into this and like are actually listening to it. Like I gotta kind of rummage around and kind of rustle over here and be like, all right, cool. Like, what are some chances that I have that I can, engage with you guys? And even if I don't engage with you guys, like, feed you guys. Like, you guys are waiting for a series. It's been a while since I put out the last season, and I don't want it to be that long. There was a lot that happened in between, but anyway, there was a lot that got me thinking, and I realized that I've actually always been talking to the hypothetical like person who's just met me through this. Like, when I look into this microphone, right now I'm looking into a scarf that's right at my eye level, because again I'm in a closet right now. I realize I've always been talking to this hypothetical person who I've only ever met through the 7th Valkyrie. And it was weird. I went and I checked through the stats on the podcast, and I realized that there's a lot of new people, and that's probably the vast majority of people who I've been talking to. So that's kind of nice. But I also realized a lot of you guys don't know me. I've done a little bit of, like, I tell little bits about my story, but I want to just kind of formally introduce myself, give some background, and really get you guys the chance to know the person behind the project. Because you guys have fallen in love with the stories, you've fallen in love with the series. And look, if you don't give a shit about me, fine. Don't listen to the rest of this podcast. There'll be other podcasts on other topics. But I just want to take a brief moment to give you guys some context to where I'm coming from, especially as we're starting to get to know each other, as I'm getting to know people who I have never met before and may never meet. Hopefully I will be able to, if God forbid if I ever get big enough to do a con. That would be fucking ridiculous. Like, I don't know what I would do if I met a person in life who like actually called them like a quote unquote fan, or called themselves a fan of mine. Like, I might I might like spin around in a circle, like piss myself, cry with happiness, and then like need food. Anyway. My name's a little introduction to myself. You've gotten a taste of my weird humor through many of these podcasts. My name's Colin. I was born in New Orleans, and it was there that I learned how much I love food, music, good times, and never taking yourself too seriously. I was born to a mother with one of the most caring, compassionate, and emotionally intelligent hearts that I've ever met. These are off the notes, if they sound very, all of a sudden, sharply well-written, because I wanted to get this down. But yeah, and my mom did her best to instill all those good characteristics into the arrogant little kid that I was. We will still see if it worked. I was also born to a father whose weird humor, thoughtful perspective, and love of the natural world helped instill all the same things in me and in the 7th Valkyrie, which I hope that you can see those elements throughout the series. And if I touched on everybody else who'd had a huge impact on my life, then I'd be here forever. So I just wanted to shout out to those two. But the journey that I've been on has been almost as important. I went to camp in Maine, where I learned to love cool skies, clear waters, and developed a perspective on quiet, resolute manhood that I think transcends time, and I think is applicable even still to this world as we're exploring many different genders. I haven't quite figured it out. I'm more and more engaged with the gay, BIPOC, LGBTQ community than even I was when I was in Atlanta now, just through my girlfriend is a huge activist and member of that community. And it's been fascinating to learn about kind of this world where, the traditional gender role doesn't hold as much weight, but we've actually been kind of debating and arguing, and I won't call it arguing, but like kind of exploring this possibility that there might be some value in kind of these ancient traditions of manhood and understanding, even if they're not exclusionary, they can still bring some benefits and yada, yada, yada. It's a complicated topic that I'll definitely have on the podcast at some point. But that was hugely influential to me. I went to school in Atlanta, and in my years and my travels out from there, I learned that the world is far more vibrant and colorful, but at the same time, far more cynical, greedy, and cruel than the one I'd kind of grown up with in my head. And then finally I flew out to Costa Rica from there. I left Atlanta and I went to Costa Rica, where the Catalina pressure cooker and the pandemic both taught me that paradise can be found, but it always has to be earned to really to really own it. And on the other side of all those troubles, I built, troubles and travels, I built a life, which is what I live right now. There are stories to go with all those adventures, and I will share a great many of them. We've got a lot of time and a lot of podcasts between now and, season 16. So, anyway, we don't have to get into that in too much detail, but I did want to get into a little bit of what life looks for me right now. That's kind of the past. That's what's gotten us here. The future, who the heck knows? But right now, I have 7 day jobs, about 7. The first and foremost, I run content production for a health startup that just got acquired and is taking off, which is awesome, but, a big chunk of time. I'm also that's kind of my main guy, and I love the work that we're doing there. And if you have diabetes or you'd like to lose weight, then check out Mastering Diabetes or Mastering Weight Loss. I'm also the creative director and editor-in-chief for a marketing consultancy down here in Costa Rica. We've gotten to work with people from dental offices in Mexico up to cloud forest luxury boutique hotels and banks. I also work for a luxury development to help sell multi-million-dollar homes that are super cool and sustainable and literally carved into the side of mountains above surf villages. So that's pretty cool. I own a gym down here, or at least co-own one, and I'm helping found a non-alcoholic beer brand one day. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share that, but that's the goal. I'd like to. It's my vision statement. You guys are all on my vision board now. And then for a brief period of time before it all got to be too much, I was the founder of a nonprofit soccer and social club for social good, and I really don't even like to brag about that one. It didn't get done as much as I would like. It's still a project that maybe one day I'd like to work on, but that was the point where I realized that one person can't have too many projects going on. And then somewhere in between all of that, I write the 7th Valkyrie. also squeezing it in around paying the bills, staying fit, supporting my blood family back home and my chosen family here, working on a burgeoning long-distance relationship with aforementioned kick-ass, awesome, defiant, sexy activist. This is going to get too long if I start talking about her. But anyway, she lights up my life. And, and on top of all that, trying to balance, that thing we all do of trying to figure out the right space between enjoyment and addiction to everything from food and video games to wine and whiskey. And then every once in a while, I just have to sit on the couch and pet my cat on the porch while looking out over the windswept ocean. It was funny, as I was writing all that stuff about myself, it sounded kind of like, when I was taking my notes, it sounded kind of like an excuse. And I was like, and I wrote, is that an excuse? Fucking hell no. It is not an excuse for anything. I'm not apologizing for living the life that I do, and I wouldn't live it any other way. But as I was talking to Keith the other day, we shared 2 Reddit comments. It's going to be amazing that Keith is like, wow, I just picked this random dude to post a dumb Reddit comment on, and now, I've become his inspiration, to surge on, and thanks, Keith. We can all thank Keith. I'm sure there's a Keith in all of our lives. Anyway, I'm sure this will be really funny for you to listen to. And for anyone else, if you want to get a borderline personal podcast dedicated to you, then just interact with me on social media, I guess. But I don't know. Anyway, going back, I got distracted thinking about our friend Keith. But knowing you guys are out there and hungry for more has certainly shifted my perspective. And I told him that. I was like, it certainly kind of lights a fire under my ass in a good way. Not like oh shit, I'm going to let them down, but oh wow, I didn't know you guys were even here. Awesome. How are you? What's going on? And it's funny, even as I finish writing this pretty long podcast, I'm like, you still only know me on the outside. The resume. And maybe over time you'll get to know me better, but for now I do like to keep some privacy, some mystery. We live in a world of complicated relationships, especially in a world when anyone can be quote-unquote famous. And controversial, interesting ideas can uplift people, and at the same time it can enrage people. And I like to be aware of that. We live in a world where you can very easily dox somebody or find their information and really ruin their lives just in a moment of internet rage. And so, I don't think, I get a little Roger Watersy sometimes. I get real mad about really contested topics, and there's some things that I'm going to say over the course of our relationship, me and you guys, that will be maybe a little bit you might not agree with, and that's totally fine. But I would hope that we can always have a good discussion after it, or at least a discussion in good faith. But even so, I know there's some shit that I'm going to write that someone's going to be like, hey, I'm going to show up at your house and kill you, which is crazy that we've gotten to that point in the internet, but I'd like for them to not have my, I'd like for them to not be able to find my address. Anyway, all that said, I will share one interesting little internal tidbit about me, and maybe this will be the one that I share today, and there'll be more. I used to be a person of intense changes, sort of jerking from one thing to another, if you had a cruise ship that was turning way too fast, it's like no, this thing isn't supposed to turn around that quickly. And it's go this way, live this life, live that life. Oh my God, what's going on? And over time, and I would say almost potentially thanks to my anxiety medication, I started to build a little bit more of a consistent life and be more, kind of steady on an even keel, keeping that cruise ship just kind of moving ahead. And one thing that has been a constant throughout all those years has been the 7th Valkyrie, always waiting for the time where it would kind of surge back into prominence, and then it would kind of settle as other things in life came up. And maybe the time is coming where, it's not going to lie down anymore. Maybe it's kind of finally built up to the point where it's all right, we're ready to sing, we're ready to take off, we're ready to fly. And it's interesting because that comes as more, as a marketer, as I see engagement numbers and we're finally getting some organic growth, and it's funny to look at that and know that I can think of it from that perspective, but also to feel I'm an artist at heart. I've talked before about how I feel sometimes dirty about the business side of entertainment, and that's without getting into Weinstein's and fucking the bullshit in Hollywood, and all over throughout the entertainment industry. I don't want anybody anywhere in the world to think that because they're not in Hollywood, they're, like, not getting treated with equal bullshit. But, like, at times as an independent creator, it feels kind of gross asking someone to pay for something that you put your heart and soul and joy into creating. And like I said, this is something I've talked about a lot on previous podcasts. But my mind was filled for years with kind of these, like, punk rock fantasies of never selling out and always being a hardcore artist. And I saw people like Chance the Rapper who have, like, incredible independent fame that they've built off the back of, just a love of the art and a certain level of quality. And then I realized that even though Chance, did give out mixtapes, he still had a concert business. And, even though, punk rockers were super anti-establishment, they filled huge stadiums, and you can't do that without a gigantic team. And I don't know, like, I think that, as an artist who has a little bit of business experience, I was like, maybe I could build build this business in a way that, it supports the artwork and makes it better and gives, and so that each dollar is actually spent to improve this project. And, and that's something that I really try and take care of. And I know that, like, if, the hard truth is, like, when something's making you money, when people are excited about it, when people are coming in and saying, hey, we want more, like, engage with us, give it, it's like, hey, we're, or if it starts, like, paying some of the bills, like, goddamn, like, Seventh Valkyrie, you might be in, into the regular rotation a little bit more. I don't know. It's the harsh realities of being, like, an independent creator, and it's like, hey, there's nobody's paying. If I stop, drop and roll straight into Seventh Valkyrie and don't do anything else, nobody's paying my bills. So, I'll end on this thought. I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. I think he's one of the greatest poets of our era. And he explores on To Pimp a Butterfly that it's easy to sell your love and your talent for fame, and kind of to turn the magic and the wonder into cynical greed and, just kind of a quest for some sort of power. And on the other hand, it's really easy to say, oh, well, I'd protect my artistic integrity until the Johns come calling and they want you to pimp out your butterfly. So in this world where time is money and money is time, and I would just take a brief moment to say, listen to the song So Long and Thanks for All the Fish by The Perfect Circle. Been rocking it right recently. Anyway, and that's a line from that song, which is why I said that. But time is money, money is time, and we are all looking out for a little bit of both. One thing that I hope I can count on is myself and you guys, and who are the listeners, and my family and my friends, to help me and to help this whole project stay growing, but in a way that will stay honored to the art. And, maybe we can all work together to find a way that this works, where people who care can support creators who care in a way that it works. I don't know. Like, there's already ways being done. I'm trying to find the right method for myself. My next podcast will actually be about that kind of general concept. So stay tuned. And if you're feeling stoked, share the news, share the series, and just spread the word. And maybe if we hit some sort of weird critical mass, and the stars align, and maybe we'll find our way to the stars a little bit quicker. And we'll get Seventh Valkyrie humming, and it'll grow into something far more beautiful than even I could have anticipated. So, anyway, much love, guys. Take care. This has been another, meaty podcast, but let me see what I'm. Oh wow, almost 20 minutes. Anyway, much love. Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Seventh Valkyrie podcast, brought to you by me, Valentin Descartes. To get the full experience, including all available seasons, extra artwork, bonus features, and behind-the-scenes content, download the Seventh Valkyrie app at the link in the description. Go on. It's waiting for you.